too. The storm coming in, we decided I had to get on back or whatever we did. It was tornado warnings. But it was a nice spot. We had, I'll go back there. I did. We're leaving Thursday. We're going down to Kissimmee, Silver Spurs. You ever been down there? Have you looked up a deal to rate your septic tanks? Do you have a Mercenator on your car, on your RV? You need to get one. You need one. Because it will give you more access to more parts. No, but I'm talking about you go to places that don't have them. You come home and dump and clean. And yeah, just replace one of the valves today, the sewer valve.
So what's
Barbara. Oh, Pam. She had an operation a year ago, and nearly killed her. Her hip ball, her foot's turned like this, and her knee just terrible. Yeah, I had to take a scooter.
Yeah, it really cuts into
Yeah.
the thing you want to do. You can't walk up to a mile to find a water quality.
Pam can't walk 100 feet.
Well, that's about Maryland. Most of the waterfalls you like to go watch and see, and then you gotta walk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody ready? Ready.
I'm leaving, like I say, Thursday. We're just going to spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And come back. I've been to rodeos big time. Yeah. Well, they have one in Gainesville too, you know, Southeast Rodeo. It's a good little rodeo. Those are the real athletes. Those are not football, baseball athletes. Those are.
Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Orange Park Town Council meeting Tuesday, February 17, 2026 at 7 p.m. Town Clerk, please take a roll call.
Mayor Anderson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sandlin,
Here.
Councilman Benefield,
Present.
Councilman Vogel,
Here.
and Councilman Taylor is not present tonight.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Invocation Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilman Benefield. Please stand.
Dear Lord, please bless this meeting, bless our first responders, keep all of our town employees safe, and be with our residents, and just remind us that we're all neighbors and we're here for the exact same reason. We love this place. In your name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the only comment I have for tonight is shop local. It's very important. We spend our money within our town limits to keep our businesses open. And if you can't, spend your money in the county. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to proclamations and presentations. And the first proclamation is for St. James AME Church. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Passes 4-0. Okay, and Vice Mayor will read that. Who is here for the AME Church? Anyone? No? All right. Okay. Okay, Vice Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Whereas St. James AME Church, Orange Park, was originally constructed in 1878, and whereas the property for the church was donated by Mr. and Mrs. Washington and Harriet Benedict, Trustees were Brother Robert Brookins, Brother Isaac Williams, Brother David Windley, and Brother Joseph Murray. And this transaction was recorded on April 13, 1880, in the county clerk office in Green Cove Springs. And whereas under the leadership of the Right Reverend John Hurst and Pastor A.W. Thompson, the church was remodeled in 1922 to 23. And whereas on February 17, 1979, St. James received a certificate for being a centennial church, the oldest continuous church in use since 1879. And whereas under the leadership of Reverend Ruby Rowe, the purchase of property across the street and a groundbreaking ceremony was held on Saturday, June 3rd, 2000. And whereas the following served as pastors of St. James AME Church at McIntosh and Mound: Reverend Leroy Young, Reverend Nathaniel Gamble, Reverend Amos V. Rowe, Reverend Marcus O. King, Reverend Joseph Sanchez, Reverend LaToya Floyd, Reverend Joseph F. Washington, Reverend Ruby Lowe, and Reverend Alicia Ford Burse. And whereas in July 2006, under the leadership of Reverend Alicia Ford Burse, a new sanctuary was constructed at 535 McIntosh Avenue. And whereas the Right Reverend Frank Madison Reed III, presiding bishop of the 11th Episcopal District of the African Methodist Church, appointed the Reverend Jeffrey D. J. Dove as pastor of St. James AME Church, Orange Park, Florida, on November 29, 2021. And whereas the town of Orange Park recognizes February as Black History Month and also recognizes the contributions of African Americans in the town of Orange Park. Now, therefore, the Orange Park Town Council does hereby proclaim that Tuesday, February the 17th, 2026 shall be St. James AME Church Day.
Got it. Thank you, Vice Mayor. We're going to move on to item 4B, proclamation for Cancer Awareness Month. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Passes 4-0. And do we have someone here? Got it. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to the Vice Mayor. If you want to come up front.
Oh, that one, yeah. Whereas colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States among men and women combined, and whereas increasing awareness of symptoms and encouraging screenings, such as colonoscopies, can significantly reduce mortality rates, and whereas we honor the patients, survivors, caregivers, those we have lost, and the researchers working to eliminate this disease. And whereas in 2026, it is estimated to be the top cancer killer for young adults under age 50, highlighting that people should not assume they are too young for or exempt from risk. And whereas colorectal cancer is one of the few cancers that can be prevented with timely screening, but 1 in 3 eligible Americans are not up to date on screening. And whereas in 2025, there were approximately 154,270 new cases and 52,900 deaths from colorectal cancer in the United States. And whereas when colon cancer is found at an early stage, stages 1 and 2, the 5-year survival rate is 91% versus 16% when found at stage 4. And whereas the national goal established by the National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable is to strive to increase timely colorectal cancer screening rates to 80% in every community for all Americans eligible for screening. And whereas observing a colorectal cancer awareness month during the month of March provides a special opportunity to increase awareness and offer education on the importance of early detection and screening of colorectal cancer. Now, therefore, the Orange Park Town Council does hereby proclaim the month of March as Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month and urges all citizens to take action in promoting awareness, screening, and prevention.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, audience comments on non-agenda items, and you'll have 3 minutes per standing rule 3. First one I have is Carol Burgall? Close enough.
Carol Burgall, 2334 Birdwood Drive, Orange Park. I want to comment on Johnson Slough. I'm so sorry. Having looked at where Johnson Slough goes and having been out and driving around and looking at the various spots that it goes and what we're going to have to do to raise all that stuff up to get kayaks under there, I'm like, why in the world would kayakers even want to go there? All you're doing is kayaking through somebody's backyard. Really. There's not a lot of water there, except when it rains a lot. I can't see the town spending all this money to raise all those overpasses so we could get a kayak through there. Especially when all they're going to do is kayak between two people's backyards. It just doesn't make any sense to me to spend all that extra money. Let's just raise it to the 10-year, 20-year, 25-year flood height and let it go. That's what we have parks for. That's what we have the lake for and the river for. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. George Bush.
Good evening, gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm 79 years old, served 8 years to our country during the Vietnam War. Been a resident of this town for 50 years. I was shocked when the city councilman came to my house Thursday night in a threatening manner. And I would like to ask that councilman, Mr. Benefield, tonight, if he was there as an official councilman or if this was a political visit. Seeing that he's not answering, I will only say that he threw dirty politics at me, a charge. And I would like to know, for the record, Mr. Benefield, what dirty politics were you talking about? Because I've asked you when you were at my house. All my neighbors heard the discussion. I'm deeply disappointed. I voted for you when you ran last time. I can't believe that you would be so vindictive to a 79-year-old veteran in Clay County, one who served 28 years in public office, 12 as a school board member and a chairman of the board, and 16 as a county commissioner. And you threw up in my face the dumping scandal, and I'd like to tell you board members exactly what that dumping scandal was. I was the chairman of the board when the FBI raided and found out the dumps had been illegally dumped by a county official, the director of public works. When that person was hired by the county, I voted against him for being public works director, and my record is clear on that. Number two, I voted to fire the county manager way prior to this happening because he had lost his competency on these issues. And that's a matter of record as well. and I cooperated 100%. The county auditor has written an extensive report saying my actions were exonerated from those other commissioners who voted for the Public Works Director. And I want to let that be clear. But I've been here over a year now talking to you folks about your budget, extreme it is, and whether or not it's viable or not, and for some of these pet projects. And I am concerned as a taxpayer. And I ask you people to do your homework and think if you're doing the right thing with our money, that you're not endangering our police, our fire, and our rescue services in your long-term borrowing for projects that we really don't necessarily have to have. Be nice to have, but not necessarily have to have. So I ask you again, Mr. Benefield, if you have any comment on that, or if you'd like to apologize to my wife, who was concerned with your statements. Hearing none, I yield my time.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay, Chuck Lindholm.
Chuck Lindholm, 644 Nelson. It's good to see all of you. I'd like to start. I don't have much time, but I do want to thank all of you. You guys do an enormous amount of work. You don't get a lot of gratitude. A lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes. Kenny used to come up and dote on you, and I think that was a good thing. And I just want to say thank you, because I do know how hard you guys work. That said, though, I have not, let go unknown that our budget over the last several years has really grown. I mean, a better word maybe would be to say it's exploded. I think it's over 130%. When you look at our inflation rate, particularly maybe before this recent administration, that growth has exceeded that inflation rate. Our revenues haven't kept up, but we've managed to balance our budget. And how did we do that? We've done it with state grants. We've done it with state funds, federal funds, matching funds. We've done it with ad valorums. We've done it with tax increases and fees. We've done it with millage rates. But to meet all that spending, we've had to raise a lot of taxes. And I think we're going to need to raise them a lot more. We have a lot of spending proposals that are still out there. The Johnson Slough, somebody mentioned that. I think last I saw $22 million. I've heard rumors that it may go up to 30 in the course of this new fiscal year. In context, the city's budget's only 40 million or so. We've had to get a loan potentially to start construction, if in fact it's approved. You look at the spending proposal that's out there, $275,000 on a bathroom at Bradley Park. I don't know where we're at with that, but if you look at Zillow, the average 3.2 in our neighborhood is only $314,000. I mean, that's going to be an amazing bathroom. I don't think we have a revenue problem. I think we have a huge spending problem, and it's concerning. It's jeopardizing, as George has said, Mr. Bush said, our potential downstream commitments to the police, the fire, our rescue, our water and sewage, or even our town employees. At some point, it's going to come to a head. So with that said, look, I want to help, and I want to be able to throw in on this. And so I think, as most of you guys know, I put in my nomination, or filed my paper to run for town council on seat 1 in the upcoming election. And I'm looking forward to that in the month of April, and appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Chuck. Okay, that's all I have for non-agenda. Going to move on to item 6, consent agenda. Do I have motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Passes 4-0. Okay, we're going to move on to item 7, new business. Okay, this is ordinance number 03-26, first reading, discussion only, second amendment to the fiscal year 25-26 budget, and I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the second budget amendment in this fiscal year. The request is to use the fund balance of $131,200 for the town square plan design guidelines. Back in 2024, 2025, we had budgeted $145,000. We had only allocated and spent $13,800 of that. There's a new purchase order, so we need to reallocate that money through the use of fund balance. There are other additional budget amendments within the same one. A lot of them are description changes that were, that because of the overly descriptive nature of our CIP and whatnot, we had to be specific on what those budget amendments needed to do. So a lot of them are clerical in that manner, but we will be doing a CIP amendment, obviously, that follows it as guided by our attorney before, but this is just the first reading of our overall budget amendment. If you have any questions, John Villanueva, our town finance director, as well as the public works director, Kyle Croce, are here for a little bit more in detail if you have specific questions on that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the town manager? I see none. No. Do I have a motion for first reading by title only?
Mr. Mayor, I move for a first reading by title only of ordinance number 03-26.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? None? Town clerk, poll the council.
Did you vote?
You're going to vote. Yeah, poll the council. Poll the vote.
Sorry.
Yes.
Councilman Benefield.
Aye.
Councilman Vogel.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin.
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, now town clerk, please read by title only.
An ordinance amending ordinance 15-25, which adopted and acted the final budget of estimated revenues and expenditures and made appropriations for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026 for the second time during the course of said fiscal year, providing an effective date.
Got it. Thank you, town clerk. Okay, going to move on to 7B, resolution number 0826, authorization for administrative review of the Willow Breeze subdivision plat, and I will turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Yep. So last year, the Florida legislature, and in order to expedite review processes and whatnot, made it so that it did not have to come in front of the council board, but in our own policy and our own procedures requirement, we have to come to council. Well, what this does is it allows me to approve the Willow Breeze subdivision per state statute, as again recommended by, or not recommended, but required by state statute. So again, this is just bringing us in line with the state statute.
Okay, got it. Does anybody have any questions for the town manager? Okay, I see none. Do I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of resolution number 08-26.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it. Sorry.
Okay, any debate?
No, sir.
Okay, town clerk, poll the council.
Vice Mayor Sandlin.
Aye.
Councilman Vogel.
Aye.
Councilman Benefield.
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, item C, resolution number 09-26. It's for commercial signage, and I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
So this is, as we had changed our sign requirements and guidelines through the town, I believe the council directed the ECDC committee to look into a sign program to help offset some of those costs as new signs are required to be replaced and to update those guidelines. This is the final part of that program. What it is it's the pilot grant program. And again, it allocates $50,000 for the 2025-2026 year. It's a matching grant, so they have to spend up to $7,000 to get $3,500 back in that aspect. So the guidelines and that are all here, the application, but I will defer to Stephen Smith, who has been working on this far longer than I've been here. For any direct questions, you can certainly direct them there or to the ECDC members.
Okay, thank you, town manager. Does anybody have any questions for the town manager or for Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
For which one?
Probably Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith? If you can come to the podium, please.
I noticed, Mr. Smith, on the list of, good evening, by the way.
Good evening.
I noticed that the properties with outstanding violations are not eligible. If someone had a code compliance violation, it's not outstanding, are they eligible?
So if I understand your question, if someone had a code enforcement violation but had brought it into compliance,
Whether they wouldn't have a sign.
then they would be eligible if they brought it into compliance.
So if a business moves into an existing building, I'm really thinking the ones I've seen are electronic signs that are not in compliance, not so much the non-electronic signs. But a business comes and they move in and there's an existing sign and they're unaware that they need to check. They can change the sign, they can put message up, run the electronic, whatever it is, to show what the name of their business is. If they get a code compliance violation, because they would be out of compliance by using and leaving the sign up, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess because they got that compliance, they're not eligible for us to help with that change. They're just responsible for doing that. Is that correct?
So it's a great question. It's something I thought about today, actually. I had the
Yeah.
same thought. It's like, well, it's a little bit of a conundrum because they're kind of a catch-22, right? So
Right.
they could always, if they get a code violation, then they could remove the sign, the existing non-conforming sign, and then they would be in compliance. They would have a sign, but they would be in compliance, and then they could apply for it.
So there is a way,
There is
if they'll just
there's a
remove
path
that
forward,
sign?
yes, for
Good.
that.
Okay, that's part of what I feel like they're often the people that would be least expected to know if something is in existence like that there's something else they need to do. When the law was passed several years ago about our sign ordinance, I'm hoping all non-compliant sign business owners were told, but that doesn't mean they're going to remember it if they sell their property or even lease that property. So,
And especially someone coming in from out of town.
Yes,
is
yes.
Often unaware of that.
of that. That's what my concern was. That's as long as there's a way to tell them that there's a workaround. Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith, I got a quick question following up with this, something she said. A business moves into a building that they're renting. The prior violation is against the owner of the property. How would that affect the business?
In that case, I think there would probably be an outstanding violation against the property owner, and so it would indirectly affect the renter that's renting the business, the building, so.
Yeah.
So how would we work that? Would we just say, hey, you cannot put a sign up till the owner of the property gets this sign within compliance, or?
That would be my thought, that yes, they would have to bring it into compliance in one form or another before they would qualify for the grant.
Okay, would there be a workaround, say, they don't want to use the sign that's out there, that they want to put a sign on the building? Can they do that? Where's the workaround for the business?
I think if it's, well, I mean, again, I think that, under that scenario, it's hard to tell what the violation is with the owner of the building. It might not necessarily be a sign violation. It could be a different kind of violation. So really probably depend on that type of violation, and it may be that the renter could put some pressure on the owner to resolve that compliance issue. And then we could move forward with the grant.
Okay, I didn't hear the answer I was looking for. can they put a sign on the building even though the building sign out front is out of compliance?
So you said on the building, so that's a wall sign.
Yes.
That's not part of the program, the grant.
No, I'm not even talking grant money. I'm just concerned about
Yes.
what businesses have to jump through to come into our town. And are they gonna have to jump through hoops to get a sign on this building, or are they gonna have to run through the town saying, hey, I'm not gonna use the sign out front, are we going to approve a sign on the building?
A wall sign, we could issue a wall sign.
Okay,
Which would be on the building.
Yeah, that wouldn't, because it wouldn't involve the grant, so, yeah, wouldn't be contingent.
So yes, they'd be able to put signage.
So they could
Okay.
put a
Got
wall
it.
sign on,
I wanna make sure we're not holding back a business.
Correct.
right.
Okay, got it. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I want to go back to the vice mayor's comments and think through timing, and maybe we're just digging into the minutia of it. Somebody comes in, leases property from a building owner. The building owner has a non-conforming sign. The property changes purposes or sits vacant for 6 months, right? So now the sign has to be changed. There would be a code compliance violation for the existing sign, the old sign. That would happen. Then they go and submit new signage plans. They get the signage plans approved, they build the new sign, and then they can apply for the grant because they've satisfied the violation?
So if the violation is a non-conforming sign that is abandoned and technically would have to be removed, then it should be removed before the grant application is
Okay.
approved.
So you remove the sign, that would clear your violation, then you could apply for the grant.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
The grant won't be reimbursed until after install and receipts,
Completion is-
right?
Correct.
But a period of time, there would be no sign at all. Okay,
Okay,
as long as it works.
any other questions?
Yeah.
Just one follow-up question.
Councilman Bogo?
Mr. Smith, number 4, I know the rest of the council is talking about code compliance violation. Is that just flat any and all?
Yes.
Okay,
I mean, that's what's proposed, that's what's in front of us.
okay. I guess, I mean, I don't have the list of code violations, but if somebody has a trash can in a driveway for months, and, is that gonna prevent them from applying for a sign? I agree with the sign violation issue, but I think just flat, any and all, too many cats is a violation.
It's building specific.
And I would agree, building specific, but it just says code compliance violation. so-
Right, through the chair, through the mayor. This is actually standard, but you're free to change it if you like. And sort of the higher level concept is you don't usually give taxpayer dollars to people that are violating your codes.
Yeah.
That's like the standard. Now, if you want to, be select with code violations, but it's almost like you're coming to the town, you're asking for free funds that you don't have to give. You're not required to give grants out to people to fix their signs. And so I just want to, from a legal standpoint, this is very standard, but you certainly can change this if you want. But if you are in compliance with the town's rules, then you can get free money. It's how it usually works. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I've got one more thing. Item 1, the second bullet, this says that they could use the grant to replace a non-conforming freestanding sign. I don't know that, I get it. It could be a non-conforming sign, but they could be grandfathered in if the property wasn't vacant or the purpose of the property didn't change. But I don't know that we would want to offer dollars to have somebody build a new non-conforming sign.
No, they would have to, they could remove the non-conforming sign and put a conforming sign in would be the only way they would be eligible for the grant. They wouldn't be able to put up a direct replacement of what went up. It would have to fit into these guidelines It would have to be a conforming sign at that point.
Okay, I wonder if the language of that bullet is too general. Replacement of non-conforming freestanding sign, or is it just assumed that it's gotta be conforming?
Well, I mean, that's where we control that aspect, but it would have to be conforming at that point. It would have to be in code compliance, which if they were putting up a non-conforming sign, they would then therefore be out of compliance, so it would have to be, the idea behind the language here, I believe, and the intent of the language, is to say, McDonald's has a big sign. They want to put in a new sign, and so they want to use the $3,500 grant to put in a monument sign, which would be the conforming sign. That's the essence of what I believe that verbiage is stating, not saying, we'll let you replace a non-conforming sign with another non-conforming sign and get the grant. They only get the grant if they follow the guidelines of the grant, which is a monument-style sign, so on and so forth.
Okay,
You good?
yeah, I mean, I don't know that I read it that way, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, through the mayor to the Councilman Benefield, we can certainly add language, a parenthetical that says this does not include using grant funds for removing a non-conforming sign. If you want to say that, we can. That makes it clearer. Do you understand? I mean, just to carve out to make it clear that the grant funds cannot be used to take down the non-conforming sign.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, you could have a non-conforming sign and not be in violation.
Correct.
Correct.
That
It's just when you
scenario
want to
could
replace
exist.
that
And so that's the idea, if it's a legally non-conforming sign, the existing business has the old pole pylon sign.
But when you tear it down,
And
you
they want to
can't.
replace it, then that's what this is for, to
They have to
replace
put up
that
the
type of sign.
conforming.
When if you do tear it down, you're
Correct.
no longer grandfathered, you have to be conforming.
Yes.
Okay,
Any
that's
change of
fine.
use or
I
any
mean, that
change of
makes
the
sense.
sign becomes part of that you're replacing the non-conforming sign with a conforming.
Okay,
Maybe ahead of schedule, or it wasn't being a damaged sign or force like that, but it is to incentivize them to replace
Yeah.
a non-conforming sign.
I do wonder if they came and submitted 8,000 in receipts, the sign company installing the new sign included demo of the old sign.
That's replacement of the non-conforming sign, so it would fit in within the guidelines of
Okay.
the grant.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, may I just speak and run into
If-
something, Julian? I've got some pertinent information about this.
Go ahead, George.
I've had a business in Orange Park, as many of you know, over 40 years. The office building, recently, in September, the old tenant left, the new tenant did not move in until January. But dealing with your staff, which I appreciate, they've been very professional. The sign, which I paid nearly $40,000 for, was out of compliance. And I understand where you're going, and I'm not complaining about that in any way, shape, or form. But I wanted to just bring that to your attention, that because my tenant moved in, we had to go through a whole lot of loops, and actually the sign that's going in is not near as attractive as what was there. And I know monument signs, as a county commissioner, I voted for those throughout the entire county. And I'm with you 100%, and I'm against all these flashing signs and these waving signs and all these other things, because I don't think it does us any good as a community. But I'm just reminding you folks that as somebody who actually experienced this, and I do appreciate the staff coming out and looking at things and working with us. The one thing you don't want to do is probably 45 years ago, I actually had a business that moved out of Orange Park because the business climate here was so anti-business that it drove people out. I don't think we see that now, and I appreciate the questions that you folks have asked, because we need the tax revenue to come into Orange Park to fund our necessary services. So I salute you on that, but just be aware that because I changed tenants, and I don't know if any of you up there have done the same thing or not, that sign had to come down. And so we'll find out if anybody have or have not, but that's something to concern. Just because a tenant changes, and it's a good tenant, the whole process goes forward, correct? Thank you.
Thank you,
very
George.
much.
If I may just
Go ahead,
clarify, if it's a change in use, it's not necessarily just a tenant change, but if it's a change in use also, that's what triggers the forming aspect of it.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 09-26.
Second.
Okay, I have first and second. Any other debates? Town clerk, poll the council, please.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7D, Town Hall Fountain, and I will turn it over to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, the council had appropriated funds to repair the town fountain. Unfortunately, through the process of beginning the repair, we had to cease work on it because the repair company basically said that the fountain was beyond repair. They could repair it, but they couldn't warranty any of the work, and we most likely would be back there in a very short period of time fixing the same problem. So it would have basically required an entire tear out and redo, which was going to far exceed the cost estimates and the allocation of funds that we had pre-approved. That being said, we looked at some potential ideas for what we could do with the fountain area, which was, in essence, filling the fountain back in with and having Public Works fill the fountain in, demo the fountain, keeping the existing flagpole. I did reach out to the family member to who the fountain is dedicated to, and I had a good conversation with her daughter. She was very appreciative that we were clear in our communication and that, that was going to potentially happen. Our recommendation between myself and Public Works is to fill it in, backfill it in, demo it ourselves, and then have a company come in and do the pavings. We can figure out, later if we want to add a water feature. I don't think it's necessary, but we could do benches, you could do memorial benches, a lot of different things, but we are going to keep the plaque and reinstall it. And also, the Daughters of the American Revolution have donated a Braille flag that they would like put, and I think that would be a phenomenal place to put that. As well would be to work it into that whole setup and that aspect and make a nice new sitting area, but also to turn something that was going to cost substantially more. Our estimates, as you saw, for the paving work itself was $76.82.95. So substantially less than what the original fountain was going to cost to repair. But if there's anything that would go over my spending authority within that $25,000, obviously I would seek council approval. But at this point, we're just looking to demo it, backfill it, and have the pavers put in. And if we decide on something substantial or more than that, we can bring that to council for review. But just out of courtesy, and again, letting you know that I did talk to the family. They are supportive of it. They're very glad that we were going to keep the plaque. And again, I think it'll be a wonderful addition to City Hall. It's not a fountain, but lower cost, long-term maintenance and everything else as well.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the town manager?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Councilman Benfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Town Manager, we budgeted the repair dollars already? Was it like 40 grand?
Yeah, it was like 38,000 and some change, I believe, was the total. But we had already allocated that money. We had started the work, so we did a stop work order for them, paid them their time at that point. But most of that funding is still usable. So again, substantial savings long-term from that standpoint versus the new fountain.
But we would not need a budget amendment?
No.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything for the town manager?
Two things, sir. What is the difference between the 7,600 and the 7,900? Is this the same gentleman?
No, it's different company.
Different company.
So the first one is through Golden Pavers LLC.
Oh, okay. I see. I'm sorry. I apologize. Secondly, are we looking to just pave it? Because I see this bottom picture here and you actually have lights on it. And the only reason I ask is because if we're keeping the flagpole, it's something that I would request is out of reverence and respect for the flag.
Of course.
There would be a light shining on it. So I don't know if that's in the plans or not.
Kyle, our Public Works Director, is here. He'll kind of go a little bit more into detail of the scope of what they're going to do, but yeah, those are conceptual drawings, but obviously you have to light the flag up. So that'll be, I'm assuming, part of, and there's already lights there for it. So some of that's going to exist. We're going to do some pre-work underneath it, as I understand, but I'll let Kyle go into a little bit more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Kyle Croce, Public Works Director. We're going to try and do as much as we can in-house with our labor and staff. There is electrical there already. We plan on keeping it. We'll run dry lines there for future water in case, but the estimate that you have is just for a company to come in and do the pavers. We'll do all the prep work in-house.
Okay. I just want, I mean, obviously, I think you know where I was going. I didn't want to lay pavers and then pull them back up.
Yeah, no, that was.
So.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I've got a couple questions for the town manager. I'm just going by the pictures that I have. I do not support a fire pit.
Yeah, no, those are just conceptual. There's nothing in the center.
I understand that. And you said we budgeted about 38,000. Looks like we're going to spend just under 8,000.
Yes.
And is the remaining funds going to go back to fund balance?
At this time, if we decide to do something else, we'll leave them there. And then if council decides they're good with that and leave it as is, then we would make the motion to move the money back to fund balance. Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, do I have a motion?
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Should we build in the benches, or are we just saying, should we look at this as a whole project, or should we just do the pavers to get rid of the pool for now?
My recommendation at this time would be just do the pavers. I think the benches could be a situation where it can be a memorial bench, a dedication type bench, and we can order them as they come in. I know that was some of the discussion. I believe it was a Culture and Rec on benches and dedications and things. So I would recommend that we just do the pavers now. We can, again, if we decide, hey, we're going to go ahead and do the benches and whatnot, the money's still in there, we can take that directive moving forward. But this would just be to allow us to get that less of an eyesore at this point, and then kind of determine down the road if what's more viable and financially feasible.
Okay. And my last question, you don't need an authorization from us to spend this money?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's under that amount. It's just, given the nature of the fountain, given that it's been there since 1978 when it was dedicated, and I wanted to make sure that you guys, that everyone besides the council and the public understood that we reached out, we've got the blessing of the family, they understand it, that nothing is in perpetuity, but we are taking those into considerations, and the commitment to community service that the family has a history of in Orange Park should be preserved, and again, this is just out of transparency reasons.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation to install pavers over the area where the fountain currently is, the pool and fountain currently are, to have it removed and filled in, and install pavers over the area to create a low-maintenance plaza.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
I'll second the motion.
I have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Town clerk, hold the council.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, going to move on to item D, Town Manager 2627 Budget Memo, and I'll turn it over to the Town Manager for an update, and...
Mayor, could I interrupt for just a second, sir?
Yes, sir.
This gentleman here, Stephen Sellers, is the representative from the St. James AME Church. He's a little bit late. I was wondering if we could provide him the proclamation we did.
That we can do. We won't read it again. What we'll do is we'll go through, I'll hand it over to you, take some pictures, and let you go on your way. You got it. Go ahead, come on up.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for coming.
You look good.
Okay. Okay, we're on item E. I'm going to turn it over to town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I do have a speaker card.
Oh, did you want to do that first?
No, we're going to go ahead, get your
Okay.
update, and then we'll do the speaker card.
So, as you know, I sent out a budget memo back in January outlining my approach and my expected approach from staff on our future and our current and future budgeting situations. And some of the highlights are, and again, the budget is there, but this is to give the public an idea of where we're headed as well. We understand the fiscal constraints that are hitting a town of our size and our lack of ability, right at this point to grow. So we have to turn internally, and we have to look at ourselves in the mirror in some painful discussions and painful decisions here moving forward. But switching our focus to a cost-first control, just limiting recurring expenditure growth to recurring revenues and reducing on our reliance on one-time funding. It's just not a sustainable model, and I know that times call for certain things, but internally we're going to start to review those and look at that aspect, and cost has to be a factor. Can we afford it? Is it legal? If the answer is yes or no on either one of those, then you don't move forward. But if it's yes to both, then you move forward with the best proposal you can present. Internal efficiencies, so requiring our departments to review their business processes and utilize new technologies, and reduce manual handoffs and reworking costs. So do it right the first time, check it, double check it, and then go ahead and move forward instead of do it, redo it type situation. Not saying that we have a lot of that, but just again bringing that to light as a focus for myself and our budgeting process moving forward. Truth in budgeting. This is a big one for me. There's a conception and a thought process out there that we over budget or government over budgets just so that they don't lose their budget, or when it gets cut, it's easier to cut. So truth in budgeting is going to utilize real and conservative forecasting based on what you've actually spent. So if you've spent over the last 5 years, you've budgeted $1 million and you spent $250, does it make sense to continually budgeting $1 million? No. Our truth in budgeting would say, let's go with $250,000 and X amount percentage moving forward. Now, sometimes projects get budgeted, they don't get done, they move forward. But again, taking that approach to look at how we are forecasting in that, because again, with potential changes coming out of Tallahassee and things like that, as well as just learning to live within our means in a better manner, those are another priority for me. Government in many ways is a business, and where it can be and it should be run like a business, whether it be a customer service type situation, but especially when it comes to budget and contracts. So if we're issuing contracts, we need to ensure that our town-sponsored rentals or town-owned properties that are leased out need to cover their cost and need to have that factor. And so contracts need to be reviewed, relooked at, fee structures, again, to make sure that if it costs us $1,000 to operate the building, we need to at least be able to recoup that $1,000 would be the approach. Another one, and the final one that I'll touch on, is just a cultural shift, right? My staff probably is sick of hearing it, but I say on a repeated basis that the words, "we've always done it this way," is not an acceptable excuse. It's tough, hard, change, and there are certain things that, we are prevented from doing just by state statute because we are supposed to move in a certain manner. But if there is an opportunity to examine it, to look in another way, the way in the past may still be effective, still may still use, but we have to look outside that box to make sure that it still is the most effective. So a lot of that is there. I will give kudos to my staff. They have all been very receptive to this. I know that we have a difficult budget season coming up, but with the right approach and our right decisions moving forward, as well as council's understanding of what we have and what we can spend, we'll be in good shape for years to come. But that's pretty much the focus of the budget memo. I just wanted to I know that there's been some questions on that, but with my administration starting obviously December 1st, like I said, staff has been very receptive and is understanding, and we're going into the budget season now. So That's all.
Okay, anybody have anything for the town manager?
Yes.
Actually, I do too. First of all, I think, great start. I think you're onto something. We're moving forward. I would look at what's next. And when I look at this is a great start, and what's next is, to me, in my thoughts, is budget needs to go earlier than normal for the council. And we have to re-look at how the budget committee is structured. I know it's, over the years, it's been done multiple different ways, but what is the best way to manage it? And I think we need to look at getting more residents involved with our budget. I know probably, 7, 8 years ago, it was changed to where the council went on to the budget committee. But I think it's worth looking at, and it might not happen this year, but since we are headed in the right direction, look at what's next and then go from there. Anybody else have anything?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, do we have worst-case scenario estimates on property tax reform?
So, House Joint Resolution 203, that is currently kind of the front runner, if you will. That has been called up for a vote on Thursday's meeting for the House as a whole. It's been suggested and exited out of committee. Should that move forward from the House and go to the Senate, should the Senate approve it, all intents and purposes, the governor has basically said he will sign it. First year expenditure cuts would be $147 million in lost property tax revenue year one, which translates to over almost $900,000 in lost city revenue. It's $876,435 to be precise, but that coming directly from the Clay County Tax Collector's Office. So yes, year one would need to be $876,000 and some change cut. That's why these processes of looking at truth in budgeting, looking at where we're at, has to start now. We have to plan for the worst, hope for the best in that manner. But when these type of reforms come up, it's a great time to look at your own processes and your own habits as a reminder of why those are coming up, as a state as a whole. So, that's the rough estimate. And then it's, to give you an idea, it's a 10-year phase-in. First year is $150,000 off your assessed value, and then it's $100,000 per year every year for the next 9 years. Given the average house price within the town of Orange Park, we would be looking at basically a completed wipeout of the homestead property tax portion within about 5 years. Some a little bit longer than that, but most of it's 5 years. Now, obviously, that doesn't impact commercial, that doesn't anything there. But from the residential side, the homestead property taxes, it would take about less than 5 years to eliminate almost all of our portion of our homestead.
Thank you.
For the town manager, with that, businesses, anyone who has a rental would still be paying.
Yep.
And of everything I've read on this, if this passes, they expect a backlash on the rental side as far as everything going up. So there's a lot that could happen.
Oh, yes.
So I just want to put it out there.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. It's just, my job obviously is to forecast and prepare for the worst and hope for the best situation. So it's kind of just getting those thought processes of staff top down in line. But yeah, this is a long way from done, but yeah, Thursday will be a kind of a pivotal vote to see where it goes. But there's a lot of things that have to fall into place.
Okay. Do you have something?
I just want to say, Mr. Taylor, thank you. I appreciate your approach and direction to staff. I thank you for making this public, for the public to see it in this manner, so that it's out there for everyone to know that what we want to do, whether there are any changes in whether that law passes or not, or something similar to it passes, these are things we need to be doing to ensure that we're doing the best for the income that this community has, and that we're as efficient as we can be, and that we use our resources wisely. So thank you. And thank you to the staff for their willingness to support this.
Okay. George Bush, did he leave?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, we're going to move on to item 7F, approval of a purchase of a crane truck. And I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Yep, this is a request to purchase a new crane truck, a 4x4 crane truck. Given the nature of where these go, 4x4 is important. And we utilize the Sourcewell contracting, but there are also additional cost estimates that Public Works was provided, just to give you an idea that we are saving substantial by utilizing that contract, but just gives you the information of that. But Public Works Director Croce is here for any specific questions on the vehicles, but you can see that the savings are pretty substantial by utilizing that contract. So.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the town manager or Mr. Croce? Kyle, I've got a couple questions for you. First one would be this crane truck. Do we have one now?
Mr. Mayor, Council, Kyle Croce, Public Works Director. Yes, we do have a crane truck right now, a 2014 truck with the crane chassis.
And then how often do we utilize it?
We almost utilize it almost daily. We pull the pumps from the lift stations when they're clogged or not working. And some of the areas are more challenging to get to. That's why the 4x4 is required as well.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Croce? Guess not. Thank you. Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the crane truck from Rush Truck Center under Sourcewell contract number 032824-RTG and authorize the mayor or town manager to execute the necessary purchase order or agreement. Additionally, approving the surplus of unit number 98 2014 Ford VIN 1FDRF3G60EEB47118.
Okay, and I'm looking for a second.
Second.
I have a first and second. Any other debate? I see none. Town clerk, poll the council, please.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salin?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Going to move on to item G, approval of additional work orders, and I will turn it over to the town manager for an update.
This is overall, this is a change order request. And so it's over the threshold that I'm allowed to authorize, so it's in front of you for approval. Mr. Croce is also, again, is here to answer specificities about it. This is related to our surge tank project. As you, in the staff memo provided, said they ran into two primary challenges that had extended the project an additional 5 weeks. Some unanticipated metal replacement work was required for structural integrity reasons. And then in the overspray claim, in that aspect, that necessitated the cleaning of several vehicles. Ultimately, through the delays, the original work order approved was $43,040. This would be a requested increase for that project of $6,560. And then the Wingate lift station project was extended due to a utility pole that JEA replaced. And that was originally, the work order was $52,400 in 218 of 25. The increase is $6,860 on that. So again, those are just the change orders that are over the scope and threshold there. So if you have any questions, like I said, Mr. Croce is here to answer specificities.
Does anybody have any questions for the town manager or Mr. Croce?
I do.
Go ahead. Which one?
I assume it's you, Mr. Croce. I'm probably the only person up here who doesn't. I want to know how a work delay on a project increases the cost for engineering inspections.
Yes, ma'am. So there's a couple of issues because of the delay. Then there's more coordination that needed to be required by our inspector. They needed to be on site for more time coordinating the communication and coordination with the utility pole relocate,
Okay.
as well as additional time for the other project, which was additional inspections needed for the metal work that we found that wasn't anticipated to be required.
So that one was additional inspections, but they also had to be on site with the utility provider.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just thought those were things we would do, so thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of additional work orders for CEI services to CMT for surge tank and Wingate lift station rehabilitation in the amounts of $6,560 and $6,860 respectively.
Okay, do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second the motion.
I have a first and second. Any other debate?
No.
Town clerk, poll the council.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin,
Aye.
Councilman Benefield,
Aye.
Councilman Vogel.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7H, surplus vehicles and equipment, and I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a straightforward auction of surplus equipment that we have. The state statutes allows us to put it to auction. The company that we are utilizing is J.J. Kane from the auction site, so they'll be put on there and they'll go through that process. But in general, it's pretty straightforward on that. John Villanueva, who's our finance director, is also here if we have any questions on what happens to those funds, as well as Mr. Croce for any of the questions on the equipment itself.
Okay, anybody have any questions for the town manager or anyone else?
One quick question, sir.
For who?
I guess town man, well, Kyle, on this list, the 898 census meters, were those new?
No, those are the old census
No,
meters
okay.
that we would like to put on
Okay.
service.
All right. I just want to make sure they're not new old stock.
Yeah, no. Sell them the old, buy new.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the surplus of the above listed items and authorize Public Works Department to proceed with the auction scrap as specified above.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? I see none. Town clerk, poll the council.
Councilman Benefield,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin,
Aye.
Councilman Vogel,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going to move to item 7I, rescind prior motion, authorize negotiations for continued professional service contracts, and I'll turn over to the town manager for an update.
Yep, so this was just a slight misunderstanding on the CCNA selection firm that we had requested at the last council meeting. And in clarifying with legal in that, and I'll let Ms. Hodges speak to that if we have more questions. But ultimately, there was a misinterpretation, communication aspect of that it wasn't just one project and one firm, that we wanted to enter into a continuing services contract per the CCNA guidelines. The motion would be to rescind the motion approved on the 3rd, and then allow us to negotiate with the 4 firms as we had originally intended.
Okay, any questions for the town manager? I see none. Do I have a motion?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Hodges, do they need to be 2 separate motions or combined?
It's probably better to do them separately, as it's written here, separately.
Okay, thank you. I make a motion first to rescind the motion approved on February 3rd, 2026 regarding the negotiation of engineering and survey services.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a first and second motion on the floor. Any discussion? I see none. Town clerk, poll the council.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Passes 4-0, sorry.
Okay, Vice Mayor, I'm looking for the motion for the second half.
I make a motion to approve the final ranking of the 4 firms authorizing the town manager to negotiate continuing contracts for professional services with CPH Consulting LLC, Jones Edmonds, Kimley Horn, and J. Collins Engineering and Associates LLC pursuant to Section 287.055 Florida statutes.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Okay, have first and second, any discussion? I see none. Town clerk, poll the council.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, going to move on to item 7J, piggyback contract, and I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Excuse me. So this is a request to approve a piggyback contract. As you know, piggyback contracts are cost-saving devices that cities can utilize to basically work with another city's contract rather than going to a constant RFP situation. This happens to be for in situ form. Did I say that correctly there, Mr. Crutcher? There you are. And that is part of our proactive approach to sanitary sewer relining. Mr. Crotry is here to answer any direct questions, but this is again, this is the approval to to enter into that agreement. There's a couple caveats, though. We will need a motion to, as part of the process, to approve the pending legal review and refinement of the language for Exhibit A. There's some things that we just need to clear up there, but given the time-sensitive nature of the projects and that aspect, I spoke with legal, and Ms. Hodges recommended that would be the language would in there to prevent it from having to go back at this point. But yeah, it's a piggyback contract for sewer lining ultimately.
Okay, got it. Does anybody have any questions for the town manager?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, actually, I think it's for Kyle that I have a question and a question for Ms. Hodges. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Is CCUA going to use someone else since this is a Daytona contract?
So right now, we're under the piggyback contract, I think until May or June with CCUA, and that's when the deadline is. This is more proactive. We're getting in line, and so we can continue for the rest of the fiscal year. CCUA may extend their contract. They may go with someone else, but being that in situ form is right here in Jacksonville, it would make sense that they also extend their contract.
Okay, thank you. And actually, the town manager, Ms. Hodges, may have answered my question about the review of the contracts. The contracts will be modified before they're signed, or whatever your recommendation is that correct?
Right, through the mayor to the vice mayor. I think you can read the motion as it's here, but we
Okay.
just need to add on that we need to refine the Exhibit A scope of work. So if you add that to your motion, it's only the Exhibit A that I need to refine to make sure that scope of work is clear.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I see none. Do I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the piggyback City of Daytona Beach's in situ form technologies contract and issue a purchase order in the amount of $132,000 with refining of Exhibit A of the contract.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a first and second. Any other debate? I see none. Town clerk, poll the council.
Councilman Vogel?
Aye.
Councilman Benefield?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 7K, piggyback contract with HydroClean, and I'll turn it over to the town manager for an update.
Yep, this is, again, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another piggyback contract, again, cost savings device in that manner, but this is for manhole rehabilitation. and the use of HydroClean, utilizing actually the contract for the city of O'Donnell, Texas, in the amount of $149,241.40. Again, there will be at the end of the same thing with the pending, just add to your motion, the motion to approve pending legal review and refinement of the language for Exhibit A. But any questions, Mr. Croce is here for specificity.
Okay, anybody have any questions for town manager or Mr. Croce?
No.
I see none. Okay, do I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve a piggyback contract with the city of O'Donnell, Texas, and issue two separate POs in the amount of $116,230.15 and $33,011.25 to HydroClean LLC DBA HK Solutions.
Pending legal review
Oh, pending legal review.
and refining of Exhibit A.
Oh, what's the last part?
And refining of Exhibit
And refining of Exhibit A.
I'll
Apologies.
second the motion.
Okay, I have a first and second on the floor. Any other debate? I see none. Town clerk, poll the council.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Councilman Benefield,
Aye.
Councilman Vogel,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sandlin.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7L. Report from the Special Committee and Policies Procedure, and I'll hand it over to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Committee on Policies was tasked with reviewing and potentially updating the standing rules, and ultimately, it's the Committee for Policies and Procedures, my apologies. And the idea and the intent was to modernize the process. Ultimately, our rules are outdated in many ways. And so that's what this committee had done over the course of the past year, basically, met on a regular basis to update certain things, to bring the meetings to, one of the suggestions is the meeting time that we meet every Tuesday, or in the first and third Tuesdays of the month at 7. One of the recommendations would be to move that up to 6 p.m. And there's some other substantial deadlines, but I'll refer to the committee members if they want to go a little bit more into detail. Again, coming in kind of at the 11th hour overall, but it's some great updates and bringing it into, again, the current operating standards of these type of situations.
Okay, Vice Mayor, you were the chair of this committee. Do you want to give us a brief description of the change?
Well, this form has outlined some of the significant changes that I think we need to think about and that are recommended. For right now, the lead time for agenda packet distribution is the Thursday night before the following Tuesday's town council agenda. We are recommending moving it back up to the Tuesday before the next town council meeting. To give town council members more time to do their review and the due diligence to help make sure we are doing the right things. We've recommended shifting the regular meeting start time, as the town manager says, to 6 p.m. Most of the areas in our community do that and meet earlier. And so we recommended getting in line with that. We've recommended a 1-hour rule regarding council approval for individual requests that exceed 1 hour of a staff or attorney time, just to help with our cost and what we're paying our staff and our attorney to do. Public participation, we modernize some technology, and for example, member of the public, as to necessarily saying, I think it's resident in the old form. Establishing safety screening requirements for electronic presentations also, because we've had some issues with that when people come in at the last minute with electronic presentations. Not everything that is on my computer is necessarily going to be able to be published on this computer for the public, and to try to do that in a meeting is a waste of time. It needs to be done in advance. For the rules of debate, we removed the frequency limits on speaking while maintaining time limits per turn within the council to ensure productive discussion. And we've also made a major change recommending that we redefined committee restructuring by redefining advisory committees as citizen-only bodies and expanding eligibility to include Clay County residents. One of the things that I thought of in under committee restructuring is that we have business owners in town who could be very much a part of and interested in what happens in this town and be willing to serve on a committee, but they live in the county. They have a vested interest. They may be property owners in this town. They may only lease a space in the town, but their business is here. They just don't live in the town, and it might be very beneficial for them to be willing and able if they desire to serve on a committee. I've personally had some people come to me who were business owners who wanted to do that, but they didn't live in the town. So those kinds of things. We can provide a full. What we wanted to do is get this out here for consideration of the full council. For consideration of how the public responds to some of these recommendations, and particularly about committee restructuring. We also, I think, if we agree to implement most, if not all of this, there's some things that may require a phased-in approach. And we talked about that, but didn't want to put limits on our recommendations until the full council had had an opportunity to digest and discuss it. And some of the staff had had an opportunity to do that also. So, what else, gentlemen? Councilman Benefield?
Yes, ma'am. What I would say, as a member of the committee, is that this is probably one of the more rewarding processes that I've enjoyed. And you have to take a step back and look at the rule and go, okay, what was the spirit? What was the spirit of this rule when it was enacted 100 years ago? And does it make sense now?
Maybe not 100 years ago.
How do we maintain the spirit of the rule and update it for
Inside the building.
current? So I've really enjoyed the process, but I think, to me, the allowing residents and stakeholders to participate is, they still won't be able to vote, but they do have a vested interest. If you own commercial property here, I think you would be interested in the rules. Yeah.
Yes, Vice Mayor, I would agree. I would piggyback on Councilman Benefield's comments. Very enlightening, very, I think it was rewarding to go through this really line by line. But for me, the bottom line is that meetings, the way that we've done things, it's an evolving process. And so some of these standing items, they really should have been very fluid in understanding the times. And so I think increasing the transparency, increasing the public input, the stakeholder input, we are up here, but we can't do it without a collective effort from everyone. And so that's really what I look at. And I'm excited to see if the change will go through with the committees as far as resident-led. This is your town, this is your city, this is your community, and we want to know what you want to implement. And although we would provide guidelines, so really that's kind of what was rewarding to me, is really, in a sense, giving the power back to the people and letting them see where their ideas take them. And so, but this was a great. It was more than an exercise. It was great. It was very enlightening. So.
Our memo that details some of those does not detail all of the things that we modified within this document. The document's basically per the current standing rules that have been modified over the years, but originally were put in place a number of years ago, and I don't even recall how many. It's been a long time, but they've modified and changed a sentence here and there over the years. But for the most part, they've not been completely rewritten, and we were trying to bring it up to 2026 verbiage and understanding and equipment and availability, and make it a document that will stand another test of time for a while with hopefully not too many modifications. But we added an article about town council orientation and training, and what should be included in that, and that there should be some annual training in these town council meetings for the town council. That was a loosely held term that was done and is largely responsibility of the town manager to help any new town council person get on board. But we had some particularly important things that we wanted to recommend that our town manager and our attorney in annual training and those kinds of things give to the council, to your elected officials, because that becomes very fluid. There's always a seat on this council up for election or re-election every year. They don't all 5 run at the same time. Sometimes it's 2 seats and sometimes it's 1. That makes us a fluid council, and we all sit here for a season. So we wanted that new person in particular to be able to come in and have some pretty in-depth training, we hope, and have a guidance of where they can look and what they can expect when they come in. And we wanted those of us who have an opportunity to come back and be here and sit here for 3 years to have some annual training also, to remind us so we don't develop bad habits. We do the right thing. Anyway, I hope all of you, not just our council, but everyone, this is a council standing rules. We've made a recommendation and written it. It's been an interesting process. And thank you, Ms. Hodges, for moving us along and keeping us straight, and for what you did to guide us in this process and help us know what other communities are doing. Thank you very much. That's all for tonight.
Okay, I've got a quick question for the town attorney under quasi-judicial proceedings. The swearing in of a witness or experts, who does the swearing in? Is it a town staff member?
Yeah, through the mayor, be the town clerk could do that.
Okay, got it.
But I can add that. You know,
Well,
if you
I
like,
was just
right,
curious
or-
because if I have to go into this, just good to know.
Yeah, no, but we can add that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's fine. Okay, anybody else have anything with this? Okay. Okay, we are going to move on to reports and comments from the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a pretty chaotic couple weeks in a good way, kind of like drinking from a fire hose, but it's been quite a bit going on. We had our budget kickoff meeting with staff, department heads, last week. Again, reiterated my points on the budget memo that are there. Just letting them know where we are and where we need to be, and they get it, they understand it. The budget process is long, it's complex, and it should be for $14 million and up on the general fund budget. But we had a good conversation, just explaining why we need to look at these aspects. Again, everyone was receptive, and we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to do our part, and again, getting as much information to you so you guys can make an informed decision. You can only make a decision with the information you have, so we want to make sure that you have as much of that as possible, as well as making sure that we, department heads, when we have budget cuts that we need to do, they have the scalpel, and they can carve out what they need to carve out much better than I can. I'm more of the machete kind of thing, but they get it, they understand it. They're taking the challenge and moving forward with that. So I commend staff. It's not an easy thing. We all want to get things done. We all want to be able to show what value we bring to the town. And oftentimes we need to be able to show that. So that's what this budget process hopefully will show coming forward. As you know, Clay Days starts tomorrow evening and all through Thursday. I will be in attendance on Thursday in that aspect due to my own scheduling conflicts with meetings tomorrow. But I did attend the first class for Leadership Clay that I'll attend once a month for the next 9 months. That was today's first meeting, so it's a great introduction and a great history lesson just in Clay County as a whole, but today happened to be focused between Orange Park and NAS Jax as well as HCA and their organization, so on and so forth. But every month for the next 9 months, we will go through that process, and I'm looking forward to a rewarding program there. Met with an Eagle Scout to discuss the possibility of some bat boxes potentially at at Bradley Park. Explained to him the process and told him that he needs to come up with a plan and a process and coordinate with Public Works. But more importantly, he has to have all of that done and presented to council in a way that is very clear, illustrate what he wants to do. And so we'll wait until we get more information back from him. But I anticipate him coming up and asking for permission and providing that extensive plan there. T.C. Miller event hosted by the Orange Park Historical Society was wonderful, or the Clayton, yeah, it was a wonderful event for those who made it. Councilman Benefield and Vice Mayor Sandlin were there. I was there. Fortunately, I was a little under the weather, so I tried to stay in the back. My apologies if I look like I vacated quickly. That wasn't the case. I just didn't, I didn't want to potentially have any issues for anybody. But it was a wonderful event, wonderful history about Orange Park. That was on Saturday the 7th. For those, again, who made it. I would say there was 30 to 35-ish there. Great attendance. Learned an amazing part of Orange Park that I believe Councilman Benefield made the statement that he's lived here since '85, and he didn't know that history. So you did a wonderful job. It was a wonderful program. And they're going to be hosting those on an annual basis. I believe the first weekend in February, is that correct? For the years moving forward. So anyone who has that history, please bring that and provide it to the organization, as they can use it as part of their educating and informing of Orange Park's colorful history and wonderful history in the past. I speak for the Morning Rotary Club here on February 27th on behalf of the town, and to introduce myself to the members of that organization as a whole. I did attend a meeting last week in recognition. I was invited, but also in recognition of one of our officers that perhaps Chief Case can provide, was given an award by the Rotary Club, a Heroes Award. So that was wonderful to see. I was back in Iowa over the weekend. I make the comment that I chose Florida because you don't shovel sunshine, but it was warmer in Iowa on Monday than it was here. So just kind of wanted to make that statement, ironically. We finished procurement training, was wonderful. Ms. Hodges conducted another training for us February 12th. We had about 24 people who were in attendance for that. And then the final thing that we reviewed and scored all of the HR firm RFP responses. There was 9 of them total. We did determine that there was 3 that we liked the most, that scored the highest, that we've selected, that we're going to interview and see where we decide to move forward with and recommend to council. But that was conducted. That interviews will be scheduled on March 6th for an hour for each one of the 3 competing firms that we'll look at. But overall, it's been a very, very busy week, a couple weeks actually. But yeah, that's what's going on.
Got it. Thank you. Town Attorney.
I originally did not have any comments until Joe mentioned the Sunrise Club. I want to say that you should come speak at the Best Club. That's the Noon Club. I'm not just saying that because I'm a member of that club, the Rotary Club. But other than that, I have no other comments.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move right into council member comments, and I'm going to kick it off. First of all, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. In today's world, there is so much misinformation. And tonight, just hearing comments, there was some here. And I just want to kind of put out what I know. When we started the the project, some people call it the swamp, it's the Plainfield project. The bridges weren't being designed to kayak under. And the reason is that's all private land. We can't kayak on private land. So, and I recall, probably 2 years ago, someone sat in here and at the podium talking about, oh, we're going to kayak, we're going to kayak. We're not kayaking. That's not why we're building a bridge. Also, the quote. When the quote came in, the quote was, I recall, 17 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, the 90% was 14 million and some change, and then obviously you have another 10%, so.
But I haven't received any updates over the 17 million. At that time, the council kicked it back and said, that's too high, rework it, come up with a different designs. The town manager got on board. So he is working through that. He's asked for a scaled-down version, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you received that here yesterday.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we received those. We haven't reviewed them in its entirety, and Director Croce and I will sit down and look at those, and then obviously we'll present those to council. But they weren't in time for this meeting. But yeah, we received them. We just haven't reviewed them in the entirety yet.
And then, so it hasn't gone up to 20 million, hasn't gone up to 30 million. It's at 17 million, and we kicked it back as a council because we're not willing to pay that. Also, the bathroom at Bradley Park, I have not seen no quote for $250,000 for a bathroom. So I don't know who was out there spreading it, but it's some good rumors. Huh?
There's no allocation.
No, there is no money. We have not put anything into the budget for a bathroom. So I just kind of want to put that out there. And if anyone would like to fact check or anything, you're welcome to go to our town manager. He will show you, we have nothing to hide. He'll show you everything that we have in front of us. So I just want to throw that out there. And at this time, I'll hand over to the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll echo his thoughts about thank you for attending tonight, for those of you here in person, thank you very much. And for anyone who's online, thank you. I want to remind everyone, I did this at the last council meeting, we're still involved in Black History Month, and the Orange Park Historical Society will be giving guided tours at Magnolia Cemetery on February the 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. If you don't know where it is, Magnolia Cemetery is right over here on Kingsley Avenue, right across the park from Oak Street from Clark Park. They did this last year. And doing it again this year, it was so well received. There are guided tours in the cemetery, but there will also be family members and descendants of people laid to rest there who are going to share stories and memories about those people and the history of what the family back down even beyond perhaps the person whose grave they're in front of. It's interesting, it's fun, but it's also educational. Bring your children and grandchildren, take the time and come. It's fun. I did it last year, it's a lot of fun, and I want to encourage you to do that. Ms. Dimmons is going to be there again. She's here tonight. She led our event at the last week, February 7th, 2 weeks ago now, almost a week and a half ago. And it was a wonderful morning, as the town manager's already said. And I'll be privileged to go to Clay Days this week also, looking forward to it, to being able to, because it's a privilege to be able to represent you, and it's a privilege and a pleasure, and it's a privilege to be able to go do that and support our elected officials, the people that we have elected to represent us in state government, and to tell them we from Clay County are proud of them and behind them. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Vogel.
Our committee.
Go ahead.
I forgot our committee's meeting Friday, Special Committee on Policies and Procedures is Friday at noon. We've talked about what we did and presented tonight for initial discussion, revised standing rules. We're going to move on to procurement policy and a couple other things, ethics, and we have some old business. I had it written down and I didn't bring it. Budget policy, yeah. So we're going to look at those things. We had done some initial work last summer on the budget policy. We need to finish it. And then we'll move on to the procurement policy review. I want everyone to know we don't do it in a vacuum. We welcome you. But we also are bringing in our staff, our experts, and asking them. We're not going to make recommendations to the council that they basically haven't helped us vet. So just come and join us. We look forward to it. Thank you. It's only 1 hour, by the way, each time we meet.
Okay, keep in mind, council members, you have 5 minutes.
Sorry.
5 minutes only.
All right.
Councilman Vogel.
That's all that I had. No, I regret missing the TC Miller, history that you guys had. I had some work obligations. I don't know if you had it streaming online. If you did, I'd like the link so I could, keep up with that. Sometimes I can break away so I do want to go back and re-see that. 1985, Benefield, it's a long time here. Travel, do something. I'm hearing some good things about the budgeting, and I appreciate Mr. Taylor, I appreciate the staff, more so the staff, because they have the harder job. You just come in with the machete. But look, at the end of the day, the cost first, the truth in budgeting, we should have been doing that day one. We know how to budget stuff at home. We know, you spend less than you make, and so some of these things, there's some truth to the fact that we cannot sustain budgets on one-time grants, and so I'm happy to see these things happening earlier. The last budget season we had there was a lot of information, very rushed, and so I appreciate the different approaches and the proactivity, really. And so excited to see what Tallahassee has for us. And I would agree with the mayor that nothing is set in stone. These are just very uncertain times. And so, yes, we always prepare for the worst. And optimistically hope for the best. So that's all that I have. I appreciate it. It's a very, very fluid meeting tonight, so very, very easy.
Okay, Councilman Benefield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you need a master of ceremonies and you can get Ms. Timmons to run your event for you, I would highly encourage you to pay her well. She did an excellent job. That such a good event for TC Miller's birthday. It's so important to tell these stories. People that grew up here, people that lived here long before me in 1985. It's just so important, because if you don't tell the story, there's so little of it that's actually written down. So if you get somebody to tell a story, my dad and my uncle and everybody, now it's on video, at least it exists in some form where somebody's told it, but this town has an incredibly rich history, and it was really great. We did the ribbon cutting for the Cuban place, which is right. If you're looking for a really good cup of coffee, they are open for breakfast, and they have delicious coffee, and chicharron, and black beans and rice, and all that good stuff. Johnson Slough will continue to be something that we talk about, and I think it's really important that we're fiscally responsible. Initially this council said 14 million was our max, and the number came back higher, and I don't know that any of us are willing to play that game. Given what we know about the future, it's so important to make sure that we're spending responsibly and making sure the projects that we do fund have a value add for the long term. That's it. Thank you guys for coming.
There was a couple things that didn't go out. Thursday, the 19th, Cemetery Board at 4 PM here in the chambers. And that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed